Hey, Doug, did you know that 82.6% of people can recall the company and brand on their promotional product?
How the heck do you know these statistics?
I have no idea where that number actually came from, but I do see it on the website of unfolding.biz, and they know their promotional products because they print all kinds of ridiculously cool ones, including our nice guys on business spinners.
Yeah, the statistics are really great, but I don't care about that. You know what I care about? I care about spinners that can spin for 2 minutes. You know, we timed this. It actually is a 2-minute spinner. You know how long it spun for?
2 minutes.
2 minutes. Is that crazy or what?
That is truth in advertising right there.
So these are great. We took them to Podcast Movement 17, and they were a blast. They were the hit. They were spinners everywhere. But it's not just spinners. It's all sorts of promotional products that unfolding.biz has access to. And they can get a discount? Is that what?
They can get 15% off using the promo code 2NICEGUYS. But you got to use that promo code before September 30th. You know what other kind of cool stuff they have? That's all like printable with your product name. Mini USB cell phone fans.
I can't think of anything I'd rather have more than a USB cell phone fan.
Yeah, I mean, if you're outside and it's hot, you know.
The last thing I need with my iPhone is to drain its battery anymore.
If you had a Droid phone like me, you wouldn't worry about draining the battery because they don't drain so quickly. But you can also get wick-away clothing, like Under Armour style clothing with your logo printed on it, and you can give them out to people. I mean, how cool is that?
Hey, why would anybody want something with my logo on it?
So you can get more business. That's what it's all about. In fact,
That's
you know
true.
what the number is? The phone number, 877-2UNFOLD. I mean, that's just too easy to remember, right? Unfolding Communications, 877-2UNFOLD.
I'm excited about it. I'm excited that Glenn is now a part of our growing fan base, and he's a lover of promotional products, as we are as well. Unfolding.biz, 15% off. Just use the promo code 2NICEGUYS, all uppercase, the number 2 before it, and that's how you get 15% off. Just good through the end of September, so take advantage of it right now.
You can go to unfolding.biz and check out all of the ridiculously cool promotional products they have to offer for your company.
Thank you.
If you think their grammar's bad, wait till you see them in person. Here's what's coming up on the Nice Guys today.
Then your idea should be your new gardening habit on the weekends, and you'd better flesh it out. Do your research. Find how big your addressable market really is. Develop a prototype. There's an old saying in IDEO, the great invention consultancy, a prototype is worth 1,000 meetings. If you can't create a prototype, even a wireframe, even a whiteboard drawing, it's a bad idea.
Surely they can't be serious. They are, but don't call them Shirley. Need an education on how to grow your business? The Nice Guys are here to help. Learn about great customer service, networking, and how just being nice can help you prosper. Now, here are your hosts, Doug Sandler and Strickland Bonner.
But we'll give it a try. Hey, that's what they try before you buy, right?
So, have we welcome back, because this is a first.
Funkin' fans, welcome back. My name is Strickland Bonner. On the other side of the mic, Mr. Doug Sandler.
Why?
We are the Nice Guys on Southwest.
Why is it that you sound still like you're recording with a golf announcer's accent?
And here we are, looking out over the 17th green, about 30,000 feet above the 17th green. No.
This is ridiculous. Right now, I think I'm staring. Is that the Snake River or is that the Amazon? I don't know what that is.
We may still be at the tail end of the Grand Canyon, which we were there like 15 minutes ago, but it's very big. So I bet it's the tail end of the Grand Canyon. Yeah.
Well, it would be called the Tiny Canyon.
From up here, yeah.
So we're 35,000 feet above the floor of the Grand Canyon. We are flying Southwest Airline. Hi, we're just doing an interview. Yeah,
well, we're going to get you guys later.
We're actually going to make sure that we would love to get you on.
We're going to interview you guys later if that's okay.
We weren't sure if Southwest flight attendants were allowed to go on microphone. Oh, this is good. So,
and we've got I've got an intro for that.
Wait, it's Mr. Flight Attendant.
It is.
Were you on the calendar? Were you on the latest calendar?
You were Mr. October, weren't you?
Wait, his name is Crew. Isn't that interesting?
Matthew.
Oh, math crew.
Math crew.
Tom Cruise.
Matthew Cruz.
So
You're Tom Cruise's brother.
So
right?
as close as you could possibly get to first class in Southwest, I would say we are there since we're in the front row. Nice job of snagging the front row, Strickland.
Thank you.
That was good. But did you need to use the wheelchair in order to get down here?
Shh, don't tell him
Normally they don't let you do the wheelchair down there.
Yeah.
You actually brought it. That's what the noise is. It's being dragged behind the plane right now.
Don't we have an interview today?
Well, hold on a second. You did the welcome back. You
Yeah.
introduced us. Yes, we do have an interview. But you know what? Tim Sanders has been so very patient for waiting because this was the interview that we lost, that we found. And I was a little too embarrassed to actually get back in touch with Tim. And Tim has been so kind. He actually has not emailed me, texted me. He's not said anything, wondering when his interview was going to air. Do you think that he even remembers doing the interview?
Well, he came through Tom Schwab at Interview Valet, which we greatly appreciate. We just had a great time with him at Podcast Movement. And, I don't know what I'm saying at all.
The real question is this. And I'm asking you this with all honesty, Strick. I don't know the answer to this question. Mm-hmm. Since we found out that we're actually going to be including Tim Sanders as our interview today, did you listen to the interview yet? No, it's okay. I just want to
No,
okay. So
I haven't.
So you haven't listened. So actually, nice guy community, when we actually refer that we're to the interview that we're about to go to, when we do the little music that cues the interview, if nothing comes up after that, you'll be hearing from us again.
Yeah, could be. But, you take such excellent notes while you're doing the interview. I don't even need to listen to it yet because you have your notes.
Okay, so did you want to listen to any of these notes? Did you want to see any of them? Or
Sure, why not? What the heck?
Okay, so do you know why Tim is even here?
No.
I didn't think so. So you haven't read any of these.
Well,
so okay.
Details.
So here's what it really comes down to. Nice guy here. You read that, and I'll come up with the build for this.
Well, I'm not going to read your intro because you do that at the beginning. But he does have a book called Dealstorming, the secret weapon that can solve your toughest sales challenges.
I wonder if the book came out yet.
we really needed that at Podcast Movement, I think. It's on Amazon right here, right?
What is so funny is that while we do take care to make sure that each of our interview, hey, wow, that is really cool. Look at that. That is the Grand Canyon.
Focus, Doug. Focus.
I didn't realize we are above the clouds.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Does this happen every flight?
Do I have my Focus, Doug Focus from Mar? I need to drop that in right now.
Yeah. So this. So we've learned all about the professionalism. We've spent the week prior to this interview. We spent the entire week at the Podcast Movement 17 conference in Anaheim, California, as we have had explained a couple of times. The background noise that you're hearing are the flight attendants wondering what the hell we're doing on microphone.
Yeah, we've told them to keep quiet, and they just,
No.
we've got important things to do, like work.
Hey, Strick, since we're in the front row, we're awfully close to the cockpit. Do you think it would be okay just to go ahead up there and interview the pilot?
No.
You don't think they frown upon that?
Do you think this is like 1997 or something?
I just wanted to peek my head out there and just want to say, good luck. Good luck, gentlemen.
We're all counting on you.
We're all counting on you. That's funny. So anyway, so Tim's on the show today. He does have a book that came out. He was referred to us by called Dealstorming. He was referred to us by Tom Schwab over at Interview Valet. And
he also had a New York Times bestseller called "Love Is the Killer App."
Wow. So we really have not done him justice.
No, he lives in Vegas too.
I'm beginning to put the pieces of this puzzle together. I actually think that he is a nice guy.
And you think it was a really good interview?
It's, well, as I say, nice guy and a good interview. If I can say those couple of things prior to getting to every interview that I do, I feel like I've done the nice guy thing.
You think it's gotten better with age?
Maybe it has. It's been sitting in the can.
I think so.
It's definitely getting better with age. Nice guy community, if you are listening, as we know that 93% of you are listening on Overcast, do us a quick favor. Just take a very quick moment. Help us get up in the ratings and hit the recommend button. It's right next to the play key. And recommend us.
On Overcast.
On Overcast. So anyway, we're about to play the interview. Again, if there is no interview after this little sounder music, we will be right back. But in other words, we'll see you on Monday, just in case.
Thanks, Funkin' fans. Let's get on with it. Interview with Tim Sanders.
Here on the Nice Guys on Business podcast.
No, the Nice Guys on Southwest.
Oh, that's true. That whole idea that you had about having a Southwest podcast.
Yeah, I think we talked about that on Thursday. or Tuesday. I can't remember which.
I think it's a grand idea, Strick.
I think so too.
Not just Southwest, but there's a lot of companies that are out there. You think Richard Branson's company would go for it?
I'm going to talk to Matthew about it.
That's true. You might know.
I am. I'm going to find out.
Actually, we did talk to Matthew about it yesterday, if you recall.
Oh, right.
The Thursday episode.
That's right.
Yeah, if you didn't hear the interview with Matthew, just go back and listen to Thursday.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, the Nice Guys on Business podcast. Let's do it. So I finally found the right man. And of course, Nice Guy community, you know what I'm talking about, because Tim Sanders, our guest today, has his head on straight. I mean, he believes, as you know, Strick and I do, that nice guys actually finish first. Tim knows where to find the finish line, using nice as a tool on his way to being the most loved speaker, author, and new friend to the Nice Guy community. Welcome, Tim, to the Nice Guys on Business podcast.
Yes, glad to be with you, Doug.
So I have in the first chapter of my book, before I even get to any of the words that I have written, Gary Shandling said a quote, and he said, if you don't think nice guys finish first, you don't know where the finish line is.
Right.
So before we even get into our interview and all of this amazing stuff that I know that we're going to cover, can you share what your interpretation is of that line that Gary may have said?
Well, I got a few things. Success is not a destination; it's a direction, right? So,
right.
Moving forward is like super important. But where I really agree with him is that we mistake short-term accumulations for a long-term success story.
Okay.
So sometimes we say, okay, well, I beat that guy on the sales competition. I won that job. My company beat that company for that customer, and we think that means winning. But in the end, what I define as winning is kind of looking at the finish line, the end of your career, looking backwards and being able to enjoy it a second time. And that's actually a quote from the Dalai Lama's Art of Happiness. And he said, if you live your life right with compassion, then at the end of your life, when you review it, you'll enjoy it a second time. And that's where I come from. And I remember, Doug, I was sitting across from Al Roker years ago on the Today Show talking about this philosophy that you and I have, that nice, smart people succeed. And he says to me, what about these mean guys? I'm not going to say the name. What about this billionaire? What about that person? I mean, he's a jerk. What's your answer to that? And I said, it's the middle of his movie. God has a sense of humor. Okay. I'm like, any good movie, the bad guy does well for at least the first 45 minutes to an hour.
Right.
But at the end of the movie, he's going to be unhappy. And the challenge I gave Al, and this is the one I give anybody who's skeptical about this, is I say, show me a not nice person who is both successful, whatever that means, and happy. Because you won't find that person.
Yeah, that is a challenge to find that person. And I was thinking, as you were telling me the Dalai Lama quote, I was thinking, okay, we're going quote for quote now. And then the only other quote I could come up with was Ogden Nash's quote about I love eels except his meals and the way they feels. I couldn't come up with anything.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff.
That is good stuff. No, I appreciate you saying that. We connected through a good buddy of mine, Tom Schwab, over at Interview Valet, and I always compliment Tom for his team's ability to know the perfect guests for me and for our show. So share, because we didn't really kind of exchange with what you do with our community. Share with our Nice Guy community a bit about why you are who you are and what you're so passionate about this building amazing relationships thing, and less about closing deals, which is so counter corporate. And I just wanted to share a little bit about who you are with our community. So can you spend a moment just talking about some of the stuff that you've done?
You mean like when I won the law school scholarship to Baylor, but I saw a reggae band over the summer, so I never went to law school, and I grew dreadlocks and toured with the band for a few years.
Oh my gosh, you are kidding me.
No, my grandmother was so disappointed. She didn't talk to me for a year.
I can't see your hair in dreadlocks. It's so freaking straight, man.
I was dreadful. But you do that when you're young, and I was a heavily churched, not exposed to the real world much kid. So when I saw somebody sing a Bob Marley cover, I was like, I am home. Okay, so seriously, later in life, 15 years into my career, Doug.
Wait, did you hold on? Wait a minute. Did you really do that?
I really did that.
Oh my God.
That's like, I did that. Did they not put that on my bio sheet? Oh, wait a minute. No, because I'm a corporate speaker today. They didn't put that on my bio sheet.
No, that's the best thing to put on your bio sheet so people can see you're actually a real freaking dude, which is who you are, because I can see that.
Emphasis on freak. But anyway, I love music. Guys, I have a studio upstairs. I made a country record with Dwight Yoakam's backup band a few years ago, so I haven't given it up. So
okay.
Anyway, so 15 years into my career, which had been middling, okay, a couple of sales managers jobs, a couple of awards here and there, but certainly not a rocket ship. 15 years into my career, 6 months before I met Mark Cuban and went to work for his company in Dallas, his startup, the one he IPO'd, I had a paradigm shift, Doug. It was like something hit me in the middle of the night, halfway through a reread of Napoleon Hill and a first read of 7 Habits. And what hit me was that I have always been the kind of person who's found success by pouring myself into other people's problems and helping them find success. And that I'd always been a very trusting person, and somehow I'd let too many managers tell me that I was too nice. And I had become very quid pro quo. Adam Grant calls that the traders, right? Or the taker type. Yeah. And I realized that here we are, it's like early 1997. I realized that in times of great change, it's the helpers and the givers and the mentors of the world who really rise. And so I just made this decision. From now on, everyone who sits around me at work, every customer I ever deal with, I'm going to find a way to share something with them that makes them more successful. And I'm going to test the universe, because I believe if I do this, my career is going to accelerate faster. And more importantly, Doug, I'm going to enjoy my work as much as I did my music and get focused on behalf of my family. So I started it. And I started it when I went to work for Cuban. So here's the picture. It's July 1997. I go to work for Cuban's company. He and his college buddy, Todd Wagner, started it. It's called AudioNet at the time. Mm-hmm. They changed the name to broadcast.com, before the IPO. So I go to work for Mark. I'm an inside sales guy, work in the college like admissions offices to host videos, online, as a really bottom of the rung position. And I start right away. And I realized the first intangible I could share is my knowledge. So I become a voracious reader of everything the future. And by the way, Cuban was the same way. I think he read 50 books in 1997 in addition to all the other stuff he did. So I went on the same path. So as I start to use this, I realized that if I shared my knowledge, if I shared my growing network of relationships, and honestly, if I was just nice and I shared compassion, the doors would swing wide open. Okay, fast forward less than 4 years, less than it takes to go to college. He sells the company to Yahoo. He exits for the Mavericks. I go out west. I'm promoted 10 times, and I'm the chief solutions officer at Yahoo by the end of 2001. And I'm telling you, there is no other explanation for this rise than that very specific system of gathering these intangibles, organizing them to give them away, and giving them away every time I had a chance. So, dude, I wrote a book about it in the summer. I mean, this literary agent hears me give a talk like I'm talking to you about this change in my life. And she says, you sound like Eckhart Tolle meets Zig Ziglar. And literally, she says that. And I said, well, that's pretty crazy. And then she says, well, I discovered these people, Tony Robbins, Phil McGraw, et cetera. So she packages me. And over the summer, while I'm still at Yahoo, she gets me a book deal with Random House to write this book about love. At the time, I think it was called Love and Biz or something. But
yeah.
So I wrote the book. It was like I recorded it, had it transcribed, had it edited. It comes out in 2002.
It's crazy how well this book has done. It's called Love. Love is the Killer App, right? That's the name of the book?
Right. How to Win Business and Influence Friends. We have 1 million copies in print. And what's really interesting, dude, is that it didn't hit the New York Times list for almost a year. It took like 11 months for it to kind of bubble up. And that's was such a surprise to me. But anyway, I started to get a lot of speaking offers. I took vacation days at Yahoo. Yahoo loved the idea. I was out promoting those values. And then I wanted to write another book. And so I left Yahoo in 2005. And, since then, just to put it into this, I wrote 4 books. So I wrote several other books. And I founded a company called Deeper Media because I'm a passionate researcher. It goes back to my debate days growing up. So I like to do panel and survey research for corporate clients, and also to fuel my books and my speeches. And I spend most of my time on the lecture circuit making new friends and trying to influence people.
What's
to
amazing,
put love in their business life.
Sorry, and what's amazing about and I happen to have done a little research into your process, and your process is amazing. It sounds like you put I lost count of the amount of hours that you put into every client, but it sounds like you're doing these preliminary calls with your clients before you go out. And this is just for your keynote speaking. I have no idea what you do in your coaching and consulting business, but you're doing research with the top tiers of the organization, everybody that's a stakeholder in the organization. You're doing pre-interviews before you get actually on stage, like at the reception or whatever they're doing preliminarily before they get there. How do you find time to do all of that and run a business at the same time? Because I'm assuming that you're doing a lot of the operation stuff as well, or I know you have a team, but you probably do a lot of the stuff yourself because you seem like a very hands-on guy.
So my pimp's going to hate me saying this because it hurts the funnel, but I'm really expensive. So that really helps. And so then my pimp's Karen's my manager. She's going to hear this and go, oh, stop calling me your pimp.
I need a pimp like Karen. Can you send Karen over to me?
Yeah, I charge a fair price for my service. Time Magazine did a story on it once. They called it public consulting. So honestly, Doug, I think we waste a lot of money on consultants as companies. We really get all of the well, let's say we get 80% of the value out of them in the first few interactions, and the rest of the time is window dressing. And consultants, please don't be upset with me. You probably build something too, so it's all good. But what I found was, if I price it more to my time, I can put 20-ish hours preparing for a keynote speech, because I tell you something, Doug, the only reason to give one is to change the world. And you can't move people with some stock canned story unless it's pretty remarkable and pretty inspiring. But even still, I when I'm sitting in an audience, I want it to be about me. And so the only way to do that is to do the background research. And I know we've been kind of quote happy here. I'm not trying to
do it, man. Do it.
Not doing John Maxwell here, but I'm just kidding. That's my buddy J Max. Mark Cuban always quoted his favorite mentor, Bobby Knight, because Mark and Todd were Indiana University dudes. Okay, right. So Mark quotes this, and this is my philosophy too. Everybody wants to win, but only a few people are willing to put in the prep work required to win. So I think everybody wants to be a really good speaker and create a lot of action, but if you don't do the prep work, you have no idea of the context of this event, the emotional setting, both of the audience and the meeting stakeholders. You have no idea of where your expertise can possibly connect with their existing problems. And I've told you before, I'm as eclectic as Prince when it comes. Okay, I'm as eclectic as Elvis Costello.
Yeah, easy
when
now.
It comes,
you be easy
when it comes to the projects I do, it's like I've written 5 books. None of them are on the same subject. And it's just the way I am. So I have to have these exploratory calls so that I can understand how to connect the dots. And I find it really pays off. And this is the what I would tell you too, is like, you don't have to give a keynote, just have a meeting, do that kind of preparation, and you'll get better return on attention.
Oh, I totally agree with that. But I challenge, and I'm not challenging you, believe me, I hear what you're saying, and I'm in love with what you're saying, because I really do think that you could have an impact in those 45 minutes. But I challenge you for just a moment to think about the organizations that are out there that bring in a keynote speaker to talk for 45 minutes or an hour and 15 minutes or anything short of a full day of classes or maybe even a week long of training, to actually make an impact in that 45-minute period. So you're saying that you can go in somewhere, do a keynote, feel compelled, feel strong enough about the message and the problems that you're there to solve, that to actually get some really good legwork in that 45 minutes?
Yeah, I mean, I can't tell you how many thousands of emails I've received over the years where people said, I went home and I stopped doing this. I went home and I started doing that. Yeah. And when I talk to my clients, I say, that's how I want you to measure me. These silly surveys, like I loved them, I hated them, they don't help you. Yeah. What I really want you to do is benchmark this at 90 days and ask, did people stop sending email at 3 a.m. like Tim said to? Did they create a book reading group and buy 15 books on Amazon that were relevant to that little business unit's problems? And then I say, go measure that. And if they don't do it, then I failed. And right now, about 70% of all clients will bring me back to do another talk in a few years. So I just believe this is the way that talks really need to work, especially at events. They're so expensive to produce. And I really think that the reason we bring in outside speakers is to validate values and agendas we're pushing. And so, to do that, you got to make that connection. But the other thing, too, is that it's not just the speech. So I show up and I've already talked to a half dozen people, and some of them are either detractors or promoters of the agenda, because I go on the first call and find those, and I interview them too, because I want them to be on my team during this talk. It makes a big difference to buy-in. I'll come to the event and go to the reception the night before, man, and I'll crawl around and I'll grind on people and I'll talk about stuff I'm going to talk about the next day and populate their social media timeline for the hashtag with pics of us and new people I've met. And that makes a big difference the next morning when I speak. Big difference.
Yeah.
And then if we're getting like Sheldon Cooper wonky here, I go on Buffer and, fair disclosure.
Somebody will go on Buffer.
Frisco goes on Buffer because I always do like a really enhanced outline, like 3 or 4 pages that they get sent a month or 2 weeks before the talk. So he's got all these talking points. So we'll go pre-program stuff against the hashtag. There's like digital ventriloquism. So as I'm speaking, pretty much roughly within a minute or two, that key point and that slide appears on the hashtag. So I found that heavily participating in the online conversation for an event can kind of put a bow on it. And if you have a lot of followers and pretty good clout, you'll always be at the top, like at the top tweets. You'll always have the top profile. So it really works out. It can help you have a tremendous presence at an event because, again, I believe we can make a huge impact. But I think it's up to the leaders of those companies to act on the momentum they see.
Help me for a second, because up until a few months ago, when Tom actually, and this world is there's a tremendous amount of population and tremendous amount of professionals out in this world. But until a couple of months ago, when Tom actually reached out to me, I had never heard of you. And I'm not saying that in a negative way or even in a challenging way. I'm thinking about this in how many great people like you are out there in the world that I'm just completely missing. What do you think it is that, and I know that you go back to that one moment where you made the move out to Yahoo but what is it specifically that you think that we could change about our behavior and our attitude as a community and start doing tomorrow that we could actually take some of the love that you've actually created and make it a difference in our world as well? Is there something that you see that we could do as a community?
Well, I think we have to elevate influencers that are pushing values that make the world a better place for all of us, especially those values that we can act on and that we know empirically will work. So, a lot of times instead of doing that, we push celebrities. And I don't mean Kim Kardashian celebrities, and I'm not going to name these other authors, but there's a certain oh, I'm going to go there, dude. And I'm a nice guy. There's a certain kind of influencer / author / YouTuber that is very popular these days because they yell and scream at people and oftentimes use profanity, and they push them. They say, you don't work hard enough, and look at all the stuff I have, and I have it because I work harder than you.
Right.
And there's a real alignment with that because them that's gots gets. When you look at somebody and they got 900,000 followers on Facebook, you go, that person must be credible. So what we end up doing is embracing and elevating the popular. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And quite frankly, if you audit a lot of their content sober, or with self-confidence, because those people appeal to low self-esteem people. Yeah. There's not much takeaway value in any of that except to work 24 hours a day. Which is
hustle.
Rubbish,
the word is
right?
hustle. That's
Oh God. So anyway, there's so many people that I would consider tier 2, and that's not like Kathy Griffin D-list. I mean, there's tiers of exposure. So tier 1 is everybody from Bill Clinton to Tim Ferriss, and I wasn't talking about Tim because he's been a friend of mine for a long time. But anyway, there's that level of everybody knows who that is. Yeah. And then there's tier 2, and I feel like I sit somewhere comfortably in tier 2. You kind of have to hunt around for me, or your friend has to tell you about me.
Right.
I'm not on the I was on the cover of Fast Company, but that was 15 years ago.
That's when you had dreadlocks.
Yeah, well, no, I had sideburns and wore yellow sunglasses all the time. But
blue blockers.
Oh, dude, just Google Fast Company, Tim Sanders, love, and you'll see what I mean. But so I'm tier 2, and I've kind of faded back a little bit because everything I did was a long time ago, even though I'm contemporary in my current, research work. Of course. And I'm not alone, right? So I find I get more pleasure out of exposing or elevating tier 2 people like myself who I just love. So for example, I'll drop one on you now. I can't tell how many times I've told managers of the world or business owners to go read Liz Wiseman's book, Multipliers. And Liz Wiseman was a former Oracle executive. Her book Multipliers was a business bestseller, but she's not, at a Gary Vee or a whoever, level of exposure. But her work is remarkable about understanding the difference between the diminisher and the multiplier in the world of management, or as she says, the vice principal versus the teacher. And I love to elevate her because then people come back and go, wow, what a discovery. And so I think that if we would elevate thought leadership like some of us curate music, then we'd make the world a better place. Because, it's not like somebody comes to you and goes, dude, have you heard the new Beyonce? No, we don't talk like that. we say things like, have you heard about this new band from Canada called Purity Ring? They're fantastic. So we love to discover kind of unknown artists and elevate them. But for some reason in our culture, we haven't been doing that enough with authors and influencers. And I think that's something everybody could do a better job at. And I've been trying to.
I think I'm going to have to check out Multipliers. Liz Wise, did you say?
Yes, Liz Wiseman, Multipliers, right?
Oh, Wiseman. Got it. Okay.
Or even Chris Voss, the FBI guy, Split the Difference. Read that book. It'll change the way you ever negotiate. He's not a household name, although, those in sales are starting to make him one. But yeah, I love those kind of finds.
So we have in our community, there's a bunch of entrepreneurs and those that are entrepreneurs, whatever you want to call somebody that works for a company that is soon on their way out and just trying to figure out the right approach and the right path to take. I loved in one of the things, I can't remember if I was reading it about you or if I saw you on a video do this, but you share it was one of your speaker reels, as a matter of fact. You were talking about the difference between an entrepreneur and this thing called an intrapreneur, which again, maybe I'm just living in the dark ages here. I'd never heard that term before. I don't know if you created it. Can you talk for a second about what the difference is between an entrepreneur and an intrapreneur and how that could mean more business?
Absolutely. So an entrepreneur is a person who has a vision that he or she can't complete on their own. And so what makes them entrepreneurial is their ability to cobble together resources from the outside.
Okay.
Whether that's, people or money or whatever. The intrapreneur has a vision he doesn't want to do on his own, or she doesn't want to do on their own. And they usually work inside a company. So, that intrapreneur comes up with novel ideas that have a huge upside. They introduce them to the organization and they build from within. They don't want to own it. They want to see it come to life, and they are comfortable working in a fully resourced environment.
What type of positions would those people? So we can actually put can you put a label on that person within an organization so somebody can say that's me?
I like to call that I like to call that the inside inventor.
Okay.
So for example, I can think of some buddies of mine that left Yahoo and went to Google, and they talk about this kid who had the hack on the Honeywell satellites that led to Google Earth and figured out, wow, we can use down satellite time. It cost almost nothing. Will be so much better than MapsCo, and it kind of led to these things. And he very well could have just clipped away and started a little company and probably raised a Series A and clocked out, but he was very loyal to the company. He wanted to see it come to life. He didn't want to be a fundraiser. He didn't have that entrepreneurial tact, right? Because an entrepreneur is fearless at asking other people to invest in them, okay?
Right.
The intrapreneur doesn't have that boldness. They don't want to deal with fundraising. And I think that's where the two differences lie. And I tell people all the time, the difference between being employable or unemployable. By the way, I'm unemployable. Head call me, I'd say, dude, you need to Google me.
Yeah,
I'd rather work on my own stuff. I want to work on my own stuff. That's what I want to do. I want to work on my stuff, my books, talks I'm going to give. The intrapreneur wants to work on the team stuff. And they just have a different paradigm about ownership, and they love to collaborate, and they don't love to fundraise. So that's a very important person in today's organization, because for companies to be successful, they have to be innovative, and for them to be innovative, they have to develop that culture of intrapreneurship. I believe that leaders should think really hard about how to reward that and how to recognize that. But I think we certainly should encourage it, and we need to shut down this way of thinking that ideas have to come from experts. I mean, inside great organizations, you have to believe that ideas come from anywhere. And sometimes I think that, let's say you're a computer programmer and you've figured out this little app that you think is super cool, like when Catherine Fake developed Flickr as the little feature on the video gaming product so that you could pass pictures back and forth of screenshots. You have to be in an environment where they don't treat you like a drummer at rehearsal who has an idea for a song, right? We have to accept ideas even when they don't come from product development.
All right, so what happens when you work in an organization? And I'm just moving off on a tangent here with this particular subject because I think it's so much of where people are stuck today. What happens when you're within an organization that you don't have leadership that's that way? Because it's not about you. Oftentimes you'll have intrapreneurs within organizations that are so stifled by management because management has, this is how we've always done it. That's like a bullshit answer to me. So help those people in our community understand if they're that type of person or not.
Okay, so first of all, never leave over an idea because an idea is worthless. A prototype is worth a little. An executed idea with a track record is worth a lot. Okay, so when you have an idea that you think is $1 million idea, and you have these Walter Mitty dreams of standing in front of the Shark Tank panel and pitching it,
yeah,
and then you say something at work, and they say that's not the lane we're in.
Yeah, exactly. What happens then?
So here's then your idea should be your new gardening habit on the weekends, and you'd better flesh it out. Do your research. Find how big your addressable market really is. Develop a prototype. There's an old saying in IDEO, the great invention consultancy, a prototype is worth 1,000 meetings. If you can't create a prototype, even a wireframe, even a whiteboard drawing, it's a bad idea. So create your prototype. Find some way to test it to see if somebody will really buy it, use it, download it. And at that point, when you have verified that your hypothesis is actually a theory based on an experiment, then maybe you should quit your job and do it. But you'd better have an appetite for fundraising, because I'm telling you, the reason that the entrepreneur fails to become the entrepreneur is they don't have that last 1% of courage to ask their best friend to drain their savings account for their idea. And you say, well, nobody does that. Oh, people do it. I have so many friends that'll come back and say, I borrowed from all of my friends and all of my family and all of my neighbors, and we lost it all. And I can't even go to JCPenney and buy socks anymore. Okay. So as an entrepreneur, before you pull that cord, just ask yourself, do you like to raise money, and are you okay with losing it? And if you are, and that's great entrepreneurship, then maybe you should leave that company because, hey, life is short.
Yeah. Oh, man. You are so speaking to me. I know that specifically, but I know you're speaking to so many people that are out there in our community as well. Tim, you have done such a great job of putting together all of these resources for us. And before we hit the record button, you were nice enough to share a link that you're going to include as a part of all these resources. Can you share with our community where we're heading if we want to get more information on Tim Sanders?
Absolutely. I've built a special page for your audience. Think of it as a resource page. It's timsanders.com/nice guys.
Gosh, we have our own slash.
That's right, buddy. And on that page, for example, I'll offer a 7,000-word excerpt from Love is the Killer app. I'm going to offer a list of some recommended reads that I think you can share and help promote other people's success. And by the way, none of them will be tier 1 people. And I'll also give you a link where you can check out some of my books, connect with me on LinkedIn and Twitter.
Man, Tim, so very much appreciate you being on the show. I'm hoping that at some point in the very near future we can get you back on the show again. We ran out of time today, but I know our community is going to eat up all this information. Thank you so much for providing all this valuable content.
Hey, absolutely. My pleasure.
Nice Guy community, never underestimate the power of nice. Again, special thanks to Tim Sanders for being on the show today. Who's the guy that does our voiceovers? That's it. That's right. Steve O'Brien. Yeah, Steve O'Brien, take us out of here.
For the Nice Guys on Business, I'm Steve O'Brien. Fill up your week with the Nice Guys. Trust me, this is going to hurt me a lot less than it's going to hurt you.